Welcome back to Fireside Frith, the podcast brought to you by the True community. Together we'll inspire inclusivity, share wisdom, and strengthen the bonds of our Norse pagan community. If you're new here, welcome. Here on Fireside Frith, we like to explore topics related to Norse heathenry. My guest and I will share traditions and experiences aiming to serve the True community and beyond. If you've listened to our episodes in the past about history and holidays, you already know our guest today. Welcome back to the show, Zach.
It's good to be back. It's a little different being in Europe right now, but I'm glad to be here.
Yay, I'm jealous.
Well, it's an army base, so it's not very Europe-y, but...
I mean, it looks pretty. You got more trees than we have here. We're just not West Texas people. It's not that bad. So for our listeners, Zach and I are both from the Pacific Northwest. Him from a normal PNW place, Washington. Me from very, very Pacific, very, very north, very, very west in the land of the midnight sun. So I don't even know if Alaska counts as Pacific Northwest, but it is all of those things.
I mean, it borders the Pacific and it's in the Northwest, so I would say it counts.
Awesome. Okay, cool. As we know from our episode on Sigurblot, it is written in the Heimskringla that Odin said there would be 3 main bloats throughout the year. Today we talk about a holiday that is none of those, the summer solstice. We know from historians that sun worship and celebrations happened in the Iron Age, but it's uncertain if they were on the summer solstice. Zach, what do you know about summer solstice?
That is my birthday.
Precisely.
But besides that, I do not know about the holiday, so I am here to learn.
Awesome. Well, Midsommar, or the summer solstice, is celebrated on the longest day of the year, generally from June 21st to 24th. It depends on the year. In ancient Scandinavia, this is typically when Vikings would return from exploring and raiding. The facts are shrouded in mystery, but scholars believe this was a time of celebration. After all, these explorers were gone for several months and were probably missed dearly by their families. One could assume that this was more of a community celebration rather than a religious event. So not a holy day, holiday, but maybe a time for feasting. Not to say there weren't religious things going on, just that a ritual wasn't the main focus. These celebrations would involve bonfires, maypole dancing, and merriment. So, of course, that involves feasting and drinking, of course.
That sounds a lot like a modern day summer to me, especially when, kids are off and it's the summertime. You just go drink, have fun, enjoy the warm atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. So something we kind of still do today, but we call them cookouts or barbecues or, stuff like that.
Yes.
If you've listened to our episode on Disting, you know about Sweden's Althing in Uppsala, where they likely added a Dieselblot to the festivities, hence the name Disting. Historically, near summer solstice, the Icelandic Althing took place. It was in June for about 2 weeks. All the chieftains and their followers would assemble and discuss plans, settle disputes, hold marriages, and more. And the cool thing I learned when I researched for this episode is Iceland still carries out an Althing to this day. It is now a major parliamentary meeting, which is kind of what it was back then too, just more tribal government than it is today. Also, fun fact, they have a lot of different political parties, and when I was trying to understand how they run the Althing today, because it was kind of a rabbit hole, it's not something I'll get into about the episode, but I did see that they have a pirate party, and I don't know anything about what they support or believe as far as the pirate political party goes, but it's kind of cool that there is a political party called the Pirate Party.
It'd be interesting to learn what they're into. It kind of sounds like an alcoholic libertarian.
Oh my God. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's something we could research and touch up on next time you're on an episode.
It's like one of those memes about oops, sorry, wrong text, and it's something outrageous. It's like, nope, sorry, I'm interested. Tell me more.
Yes, possibly. You never know. I mean, they have a lot of different political parties, especially compared to the United States, where we have the 2 main ones, and then there's some other ones that get a little less funding, it seems. But that's neither here nor there. It just seems really interesting and something worth looking into. This is not a political podcast, so we won't go into it much more than that, but just an interesting fun fact that I learned about Iceland. So moving right along, I tried to summarize this timeline and decided that we're just gonna cite them pagankids.org. If you've looked at my sources before, I have used them. They do a really good job about explaining things in a way that is understandable for the whole family. Like their whole focus is making blogs to help people explain to their children pagan things, a lot of Nordic things. So anyway, pagankids.org has a great timeline that I'm going to use to explain what we know from oldest to newest changes in summer solstice as a holiday. So this is what they say from their blog post. If you are like me, you are probably looking for connections throughout timelines to understand where midsummer celebrations come from and if they are all connected. Below are the dates I have compiled in chronological order from the sagas, laws, and archaeological discoveries. It is essential to note the following occurrences were not called Midsommar or Midsommar, but the celebrations hold during the middle of summer weeks. The following timeline is a series of events, and they say from earliest to latest events, but I'm going to read them in reverse order, so it's going to be the earliest, like it starts with 58 to 49 BC, and then it ends in the 1930s. Are we ready?
So ready.
All right, Zach, since you are the guest on the show, I'm going to have you and I read every other bullet point. So I just sent you the first one that starts in 58 to 49 BC.
Okay. Carvings from Denmark and Sweden show expressions of joy, thanks, and worship to the sun for its life-giving power. Sun rule carvings throughout Scandinavia and Germany are included. These are used in folk customs. Note, this only proves sun worship existed. It is not evidence of midsummer.
930 to 999. That's not BC. Anyway, the Icelandic Althing Assembly is held for 2 weeks on the 9th week of summer weeks. Note, the influence of kings don't arrive in Iceland until 1262.
994. The King of Norway knew about midsummer traditions and tried to convert heathens with a promise of threat of a midsummer bloat.
I'm going to explain that a little bit. The King of Norway in 994, the whole threat of a midsummer bloat. This is the only time in history where they talk about a bloat in midsummer. And we know bloat was a gift for gift sacrifice to the gods and often involved their feast, like sacrificing a boar or a cow or, stuff like that. A sacrifice of meat. And so the King of Norway in 994 was trying to convert heathens to Christianity and basically said, you will be the midsummer bloat if you don't convert, type thing. Isn't that sad? His own people.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't mean to have a short answer. I'm going to be honest, the video on my side was cutting out a lot, and there were points where like 3 of your voices were playing at once.
Oh, that sounds terrible. Yeah, your video is frozen right now.
And now you're out.
Huh. Oh, you're not frozen anymore.
Yeah, I think it was just struggling for a second.
Okay. I'm going to read the next bullet point.
Yeah. We'll pretend I heard all of it.
Oh, yeah. It recorded all of it. Anywho.
That's all that mattered.
Yes. Okay. In the 1000s, King of Norway connects the heathen summer bride festival to Jonsok, or the Day of St. John, by establishing a midsummer festival and disbands sacrifices and bloats. This is during the time of the conversion when they made heathen practices illegal.
1600s, biographer Saint Egils tried to prohibit heathen midsummer customs during midsummer. The Morse chant is created, replacing wilder heathen dances. Christmas customs become more sedate.
Yes. So basically, I think that was during the time, because it might have been before that, where they put Yule and Christmas to start around the same time, because they aren't anymore, because Christmas is now on the 25th of December, and Yule is like around the 21st or 22nd. It depends on the year. This isn't about Yule though, but that's kind of like it's like a little fun fact, I guess, that like kind of shows you where they are in this whole conversion and like what happened.
Kind of showcasing what was happening during the time, and they were trying to like mesh the two things together to eventually get them to convert.
Yes. All right. In the 1700s, solstice games of southern Germany led historian Jacob Grimm to conclude fires lit to welcome summer. They derive straight from our native heathenism. He also observed these fires occur during the time of Easter and Midsummer. So this is when they start becoming less in denial or trying to cover up or illegalize pagan traditions.
Yeah, it's become pretty accepted.
Exactly. Okay, moving on to the 1930s.
The 1930s. Heathen traditions continued until 1930 on the mountains of Dauphine, which presided over June 24th before the 312th century.
Yes. Side note, on the pagankids.org website, it does say the 312th, like 312th century. I do believe that is a typo. Yes. Nobody's perfect. You know, we all make mistakes. I'm not sure which century they were talking about to correct that, but just know that. Okay, thanks. One more thing I want to read from pagankids.org. They say in the end of their blog, at the end of the day, the big question is Midsommar pagan? I like to give simple answers at the beginning of my articles, but Midsommar has so many layers to be understood. This time, it was essential to go through the history and the details of Midsommar and its variants. The simplest and most accurate answer is Midsommar is and is not pagan in origin. It is a mixture of cultural, Christian, and pagan traditions that has evolved throughout thousands of years. That said, pagan sun worship existed long before Christian influence reached the lands, and other pagan summer solstice traditions has been present in the Scandinavian and Germanic areas long enough for scholars to conclude some of these traditions come from a pagan past. So that's kind of cool. It's like a joint kind of tradition holiday. Like there is no real origin, you know?
Yeah, I feel like this is much more cultural than... I mean, obviously, it's much more cultural than religious, but in bringing back the heathen faith and worshiping how we do in a modern day, part of it is adopting the culture that was of the day, and that includes, you know, celebrating Midsommar.
Yeah.
It is just fun. It's a time to get together with your friends, have a fire, eat, drink, be merry.
Yeah, exactly.
Who needs an excuse for that?
Yeah, right? So, what we've gathered from the research is many different cultures celebrated the summer solstice. So many that it's hard to pick only a few to talk about for the adjacent holidays. And what I've gathered is that you can look up solstice inspiration from all over the globe and find traditions that may align with your practice. So, as far as modern interpretations, yeah, this is not a religious holiday. This is a barbecue. This is a night of merriment or a day of merriment. Do you have any modern interpretations from what we have talked about today?
What I've pretty much gathered is that with piecing together holidays and traditions of the times of old, we have to adapt. And like during holidays, there are certain practices that we have to like try to keep pretty similar in order to keep the same reverence towards the pantheon. But I mean, this is completely different. This is really just having fun. So I think there's a lot more room for interpretation, moving things around, doing it how you want to do it.
Yeah.
And like there's no strict way to do it unless like you feel really, really into lighting fires, which I do. I like fires.
Yes.
But I mean, this is probably something most people do anyways. It's just kind of having a reason for the season is the only difference.
Yeah, and so it seems like it was more of a time to celebrate the Vikings coming home to their farms with their plunder and distributing that wealth or giving it to their jarl or their king or what have you, building that wealth within their communities and lighting fires because they got to cook their food somehow, right? I do like the Icelandic all thing. During that time, our group has grown so much in the last year that we are actually doing another all thing because we have to restructure some things. We're going to implement some sort of structure. We've had more people volunteering to do things for ritual and to help out with different roles. And I wish you were here for Sigerbloat because that was the best ritual we've had in the last year. And it was very interactive. It wasn't just me up there performing a ritual to people. There was times where our kindred folk, would come up and do things for the ritual. And we had breaks where people could be people and not just an audience member. It was really awesome.
Yeah, and I think we can have a lot of fun with this one. It makes sense that we need another all thing just because, like, building a group, it takes a lot of organization and group effort. And the easiest way is to do that in person.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, without having to do a ritual, it can be give much more purpose to the all thing. And I think it could be much more of a potluck, which sounds really fun.
I mean, yeah, all of our get-togethers are potlucks. It's too much work for one person to do all the cooking. Let's move on to solitary practice.
Indeed.
Before I read my little suggestions from the internet on solitary practice for summer solstice. What are some things that you would do in your solitude right now?
It's kind of hard to say. Call it my lack of imagination, but this does sound like a very group effort kind of celebration. So it kind of sounds weird to just like get stuffed full of food and have a bunch of drink and a fire all by yourself. It sounds kind of lonely, but I mean, just do whatever you think sounds fun, whether that's like going on a hike. Like try to be outdoorsy at least, not just staying in your room watching anime, you know?
Yes.
Something different that like includes the fact that it is summertime.
Yes. So connecting to nature is definitely one thing I put on here. Going on a nature walk or a hike. Yes, absolutely. Another thing that a lot of people like to do is a sun salutation yoga flow, which is not heathen, but it's a way of you to go outside, get some sunshine, get some good stretches in, and kind of soak up that energy, that warmth, and, you know, take it throughout your days. You can do a solo solstice ritual if you would like to. Like I said, this is not a religious holiday. However, you can make it that way. It's all about your personal practice. So in modern interpretations, I think people like to say Balder is the bright one. He's got some sun energy to him. And so people like to do like a ritual to Balder. And you can do that if you would like to. Something they used to do is making flower crowns. I say used to do, but I think people still do that. I did that when I was a little kid. And you can make an altar. If you listen to a few episodes back when I did Norse pagan holy spaces, what was the name of that episode? I'll look that up and insert it later. But anyway, so I did an episode on holy spaces. We know it was outdoors. So a lot of those home altars, those indoor altars, that is a modern thing. That is not an ancient thing. But for your solitary practice, if you live in an apartment or you don't have a yard for whatever reason, or you have a yard like me, which is all concrete, and you just don't feel very connected in the concrete, you can definitely make an altar inside.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about just making it work. That's a lot of what this faith is just finding ways to fit it into your life as much as you can or as much as you're able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing we're talking about, group celebrations.
Yes, the fun part.
Yes, the group celebrations. So obviously you can have a solstice feast, which is what we're doing, because, you know, it's going to be a cookout, a barbecue of some sort. Well, maybe not a barbecue. I've just always grown up calling them barbecues, not cookouts, potluck, what have you. You can connect with nature, with a hike, or spending time outdoors. I mean, you could lead your group in a sun salutation yoga, but I don't think our group is into that. And that's okay.
I think it takes a very specific group to do that kind of thing, but to each your own.
I like stretching. It's good for you. It's good for your back.
I like stretching too. I just don't revere it as a celebration.
Yes, I understand that. So we're actually planning, after this podcast, I'm going to eat some lunch, and then we're actually going to plan our summer solstice ritual today. Me and my secondary in our ritual group, we're going to bring some ideas. And I know for a fact we are doing an all thing, like I said before, because, yeah, our group has grown so much, we do need to implement some structure, because we've gotten a bunch of new members recently that are like, hey, I'm moving to that area, and did some Googling and found your group. And so I don't want a hard structure. We're not that large yet, but because we keep growing and growing and growing, I would like to implement some plans for continuity after you and I leave. Because after we get out of the army, our plan is to go somewhere with more trees so we can farm, and having shade is so important. You can farm here. It's a little harder. I think things need a little bit more water. But having that shade so your crops don't burn is really important to us. So yeah, I would like to set up some sort of structure for like what happens when we leave. Because right now I am the leader. I'm the group leader, and I'm trying to accept that.
Yeah, you're the unofficial appointed leader of the group.
I had a conversation recently. It is official now.
Oh, okay. So it is official, but no, it's definitely needed because there needs to be a better structure for division of labor, so it's not all on you when you're planning things and having everyone come over. But
Yes.
also, yeah, like there's no point there's no point to building this community if it's going to fall apart once we move. Because El Paso does really need a structured group to represent Norse paganism, or just paganism in general.
Yeah, absolutely. And, sorry, I just read a text from Addison. She said, Happy Mother's Day. That's so sweet. We are recording this on Mother's Day. So by the time it's put out there on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all that, this will be after Mother's Day, but happy Mother's Day to those that are listening. Is it Father's Day in June?
Yeah, I believe it's in June. Or wait, I have no idea, honestly. But now that you have reminded me again, happy Mother's Day. Thank you for cleaning the cat throw up while I'm not there.
Of course, thanks. By the time this comes out, happy Father's Day, whenever that is. I'm pretty sure that's next month when this episode will air. Yeah, other than that, this is kind of a shorter episode because, like I said, this isn't a holy day. I mean, you can make it a holy day should you want to. Deity suggestions, Balder is a good one. There's no dogma here. This is kind of like a build your own adventure religion and just study hard and do what feels right.
Oh yeah, have fun, enjoy the weather. That's about it.
Yeah. In conclusion, yeah, that's all we got. Let's have a good time. Have a cookout. You could even have a cookout with your non-Norse pagan friends.
Oh, I know I'm going to.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's also going to be my birthday, but I know we're going to go out and we're probably going to have a lot of food and enjoy Romania.
Yeah, go buy me some vampire stuff. I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding at all.
Side point, I don't know if you've seen them. Maybe some of our listeners have seen them, but there are these gigantic salt mines. They look like World War III bunkers. Like 150 foot tall, you can fit tens of thousands of people in them.
Oh.
They're in Romania.
That's
and
cool.
I really want to go see them. They are gigantic and they look amazing. And they're like right next to the haunted forest.
I want to go so bad. I'm so jealous.
I need to take a 4-day and go visit that.
Yes, you should. Yeah, find a battle buddy. That
maybe I should. Yeah, I'll invite one of my boyfriends.
Oh my God. We were talking about that yesterday. Someone was talking about polyamory. Someone was like, yeah, that's just not for me. I was like, yeah, I get it. I mean, it's just me and my husband and all of his boyfriends. Totally joking for those that are listening. He is not available.
No, they are pseudo boyfriends. They're real in my heart, but not. So the other day, I was at work on my computer typing away, and my sergeant got up and walked away. He's like, "All right, I'll see you later. Bye, love you." And I said it back, and then my other battle buddy, she looks up from her computer like, "What the hell is wrong with you two?"
You bros. It goes back to that always kiss the homies goodnight.
Always kiss the homies goodnight.
Always. Yeah. Hello, everyone. I'm recording from the future of when the rest of the episode was recorded. And our communication was a little finicky because, Zach is in a different country and the Wi-Fi situation is not great, but it's not horrible because we still got the episode out. That being said, I'm here to do our outro. Our sources for this episode are nationalheathen.com, the article entitled The Meaning Behind the Death of Balder and the Summer Solstice. That was a really cool read. I really only took the information about the summer solstice from it because I feel like there's a lot on there that's up to interpretation. So if you'd like to read a little bit about the death of Balder and that story's correlation with the summer solstice, go ahead and check out the first link in the show notes. Of course, we have pagankids.org, the article about Midsommar, smithsonianmag.com, the article called 9 Ways People Celebrate the Summer Solstice Around the World, nationaltrust.org, the article History of Summer Solstice Traditions, Arith Harger on YouTube, his video Summer Solstice, the Celebration of Fire, and the tradition behind Midsommar. And that's when he talks about the movie and compares it to real life history. It's a pretty cool video. The YouTube channel Norse Magic and Beliefs. How did the Norse celebrate summer solstice is the name of the video. And you can check out all the links to that in the show notes. Our music is by hot_dope and NotProd. Thank you so much again for joining us on Fireside Frith. If you have any questions, stories, or reflections you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you at theosatruecommunity.com. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on our socials at Fireside Frith Pod. Until next time, may your hearth be warm and your path be guided by frith and wisdom. And unfortunately, the wind started picking up where he was at, so we didn't get to do our skull. So, skull to you with my sprite. Have a great week.